So one other thing that I struggled with early on was delegating and outsourcing was really a struggle for me. You know, I think I told myself the lie that nobody else could do something as well as I could. And I also told myself that the time it would take to train someone, I could just get it done myself. And y'all,
Mhm.
those are lies, lies that I told
Yeah.
myself because I wanted ultimate control. But there are so many benefits of delegating tasks and outsourcing responsibilities.
Hi, I'm Melissa.
And I'm Julie. We're lifelong friends and entrepreneurs who have spent the past 15 years building successful businesses. Yep, we've done the scary stuff in business and in life.
We created this podcast to empower and inspire women to be bold and courageous in their personal and professional journeys. Each week, we explore stories, insights, and practical tips to help you harness your knowledge and experiences to create and grow your business or improve your life. If you're ready to take action, or even if you're just dreaming about building the life you deserve, you've come to the right place.
Get ready to step out of your comfort zone as we celebrate bravery, share inspiring interviews, and offer the guidance you need to blossom into your fullest potential. Okay, friends, let's be brave together. This is the Brave Looks Good on You podcast.
Hey, y'all, I'm Melissa.
And I'm Julie, and we're diving into a topic that's close to every entrepreneur's hearts, including ours, finding that elusive balance between business, family, and personal well-being.
Yes, and elusive is a really good word. After years in business, you and I, both of us started businesses from scratch
Yep.
with
A, coup-
kids,
a
with young
couple,
children
couple of
in
businesses.
tow. Yeah. And I just think we had to really learn, I don't think we ever learned a balance, but we definitely learned how to try to balance being moms and being entrepreneurs and being wives and all the things. But it was not easy. It's still not easy. And our lives have changed. We're going to talk more about that later. But there are always moments when everything just seems off balance. And honestly, I think it's unavoidable. Spoiler alert, it's just
Yeah.
unavoidable.
There's no such thing as work-life balance, honestly. Whether you're planning a big event for your business or dealing with a sick family member, life always throws us curveballs. That's to be expected, right? So while
Yeah.
balance might seem ideal, maybe it's more about keeping things as balanced as possible.
Yeah. Because, when I look back, I just remember trying really hard to juggle work, my kids, trying to figure out, when to work, when not to work, when to be all in with them, and just trying to plan and figure out the best times to get things done. I remember this has been a hot minute because my youngest one's 17, but I remember nap times were like my best friend. Even though I wanted to nap with them, really that was the ideal time to get stuff done. But even the best plans do not always work out perfectly.
Yeah, it's funny you say that about nap time because I'm honestly thinking, nap time was awesome, but at best, maybe 2 hours. Like, honestly, how much work did
Right.
we get done in 2 hours?
I know. When you just wanted to look at your phone or watch TV or something,
Right.
not really work.
Okay, well, it's a constant dance of priorities, of course, and also it depends on your stage of life, but that's always changing.
Mhm.
So, today we're going to talk
Mhm.
about why balance is so important and share some strategies for finding balance in our businesses and in our families, and discuss how we can focus on our own well being. Of course, we don't need to forget about ourselves. That's a huge thing that often, right, especially women,
Yes,
put on the back burner for sure.
definitely. And I think along with that, let's tackle some just challenges that we know are true and how we can create a support system that can really help us try to manage it a little better and how to bring a little more balance into our lives. So let's get going with the first thing, Julie. Start us
Okay.
off.
So, number one is we need to understand the importance of balance. So, obviously, this starts with making balance a priority. So, we all know how imbalance can really affect us in our mental health, our work productivity, and even in our relationships. So, in the research we did for this episode, we found that 42% of entrepreneurs have experienced burnout. So, if you're feeling it, you're not alone. And guess what? This is
Right.
even higher for women at 52%. And 35% say they lack a work life balance. So, personally, I know that I'm more focused and creative when I feel like all of that is balanced and in tune, but a better word might be harmony versus balance, as that is really kind of a hard thing to achieve.
Yeah, I agree about that. And I'm not surprised, I don't know about you, about women's of
Yeah.
burnout is
Oh,
hired.
yeah.
It's kind of depressing, but it does not surprise me at all. And I think too, it's easy to feel alone, sort of like when you're in that role of being an entrepreneur and whatever season of life you're in, you do feel alone and many times isolated, maybe. And so I think just being aware that all of us are trying and striving to make it a priority is important, which really leads to the next thing we want you to focus on. And that is to just create strategies. Cause I think you've got to be intentional here. Cause if you're not, it's never going to happen, or you're at least never going to get close. So let's shift gears and talk about some things you can do to make it happen. And I think y'all are going to, when I say this word, you're going to know exactly, but it's managing our
Mhm.
time. It's huge. And so finding things that work for you, I think that's key because it's going to be different for everybody. But time blocking has really come in handy for us. We are big Trello fans. That's a platform software thing that we use to keep ourselves organized. Julie and I both can look at it remotely. We're taking a look now at Asana, which is a planning platform that I've been hearing a lot of buzz about. So we're going to do that. But that's one option for you is try to figure out the best way you want to get organized with your time.
Yeah, Melissa, those tools come in really handy for us because we do work remote. And so those tools really help us stay on track and can help us with our deadlines. And that number one helps avoid overwhelm for me especially because I love a list. I need to know what
Mhm.
is expected of me and what the due dates are so that I can stay on track. And having those systems in place really helps. Sometimes we even just use a spreadsheet, a Google spreadsheet that we share
Yeah,
to keep things. So it doesn't have to be some big fancy software that you have to pay for. You can use free things
right.
or you could just use a notebook if that's your jam.
I'm kind of a paper girl, so I get it. But you've made me a spreadsheet girl. You converted me. So thank you. Yeah. Okay, so let's keep going on strategies. Another one to implement to be able to do this or try to is involve your family in your business journey. I think this is important because it makes them understand what you're doing. But let's talk about some of the ways you and I did this independently with our other businesses and how it just helped. Because I think back, like your goals had to do with your kids. Like in your business, your goals were literally about your kids. And I think you were good about talking about that with
Hmm.
them and they were aware. And like for me, because, just the difference in the two of us, I would be like, hey, the business paid for this trip we're going on. I was trying to do those kind of things. But you really can bond as a family, even if some of it could be stressful. They get
Yeah.
it and they understand. And as they get older, they can kind of help work together to achieve something, but also include them on celebrations.
Yeah. And also, in saying all that, Melissa, I think it's really important that our kids see us work. There's
Absolutely.
no shame in that. Like, we shouldn't try to hide the fact that we're busy and what we're doing when we're busy is we're actually
Hmm.
working and focusing on our goals because that helps our family and ultimately them too. So I think that's something that's great to involve them on and make them understand that, we don't get to do the things that we get to do if we're not working for them, right?
Yeah, that's a true lesson. I was going to share this. So, a friend of mine reached a huge milestone in her business recently. And she shared this with me a couple months ago, and I just thought it was so cool. Her kids are tween age. I mean, they're not teenagers yet, but they're not itty bitty, but they've been alongside her as she's built this really hard business to build. And she just hit this huge milestone. And she said, I had nobody to tell. It was late at night. She'd been at it 7 years to get to this point, but she went home and said she woke up her kids, like they were like, what? What
I
is
love
it?
that.
So she could tell them and celebrate with them. So I love that too. I think that's a great idea. Okay, so let's shift the focus a little bit from everyone else to our own, because you mentioned this earlier, is what,
Yeah.
Julie?
Is, of course, our personal well being. And I think we all know that
Yeah.
self care is crucial in maintaining our energy and our focus. Melissa, you talk about prioritizing exercise for your mental health. And I completely get that. I love getting up and going on my morning walks. It just kind of gets me started with the day. And I need to do that for my own sanity and, for health. So I know I'm a better person during the
Mhm.
day because of it.
Yeah, it's funny because that's when you have your light bulb
Yeah,
moments. Because she will send me a voice
I
text.
do.
I had this idea, I can't forget it, like, while she's walking, out of breath, I can hear her. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and something else I do is I need to get all my work done before dinner. And so if I have something left hanging that I feel like I need to do in the evenings, it really just makes me grumpy. And I start to
Mm.
resent whatever that project is. And it's like my brain capacity for high level thinking stops by 7 p.m. And so
You are done because when I've been around you, you're like,
you're
"I'm
like, I
done."
can't, I'm going to have to table that till tomorrow. So I think just knowing those things about yourself, about when is your best
Yeah.
work time frame, because we all have that.
Mm,
Some people are night
mhm.
owls, some people are like super early morning people.
I'm a
My
night
really
owl.
good time comes like from 1 to 4 p.m., honestly. And then I got to stop and I need to shift gears and do something else. It doesn't require much brain power.
And I'm a night owl, so I'm the total opposite. I'm like sending you a text at 1 in the morning because I have some great ideas. Okay, another thing too, I'm not real good about this, Julie. I'm curious if you are, because I don't know if we've ever talked about it, but like some people are really good at like practicing mindfulness and stress reduction techniques, like meditation and deep breathing. I have never done this because my mind is always racing, but it probably is something I need to try. Have
I'm
you
not good at
tried
this
anything like
either.
that?
I'm
Okay.
kind of too silly to whenever I try to turn on one of those meditation apps and follow along, it makes me giggle.
I'm gonna need you to video yourself doing that. I really am. We need to see that.
I know it's hard for me to get in the zone for sure. Quick question. Do you feel like you're spending way too much time creating new content? We totally get it. We used to do that too until we found a smarter way.
In our totally free course, Effortless Content Repurposing Boost Your Reach with ChatGPT, you will find the secret sauce to getting more out of the content you've already created without the extra hours of work. Imagine taking one email newsletter and transforming it into Instagram posts, Facebook posts, and story and reel ideas all in minutes.
Sound like magic? Well, it kind of is. In this course, we'll walk you through how to use ChatGPT to turn your existing content into fresh formats that'll help you reach a whole new audience. It's all about working smarter, not harder.
So if you're ready to make your content work for you, sign up for our free course today. Head over to bravelooksgoodonyou.com/chatgpt to sign up. It's only here for a limited time, so don't wait. Let's repurpose your content and free up some time for the things you love. We'll see you inside the course.
All right, so all of this sounds great in theory, but let's get real. There are certain challenges that come with all of this. So let's talk about the next thing to consider when it comes to finding balance or harmony.
Yeah, okay. And that is to overcome the common challenges. Now, I think you are going to relate to these too. So, a big one for me through the years was dealing with mom guilt and expectations. Many times the expectations I put on myself, but still they were there or felt like they were there. And I really wrestled because I'm so all in one or the other. I really wrestled with my time and tended to go overboard when I was building my business and working. You and I both
Mhm.
worked too while we were building these businesses. And so there was just a lot of guilt wrapped up in this for me. And I still feel that guilt because I missed some big things because of decisions that I made that I chose. And I wish really I would have recognized this earlier. So if there's any of you listening that are in that stage of life, make a change sooner. Do it. If you're feeling that guilt, move on it. Because I wish I had learned to say no so that maybe I could have better managed those expectations and just let go of that feeling of perfectionism and go, go, go. And Julie, I was going to speak to this. You and Mark, I know y'all's kids are really close in
Mhm.
age. And so I would love for you to talk about, just in practical sense, what are some of the things you all did to manage expectations and then also manage like the unexpected things that happen if things were crazy in your business?
Okay, yeah. So I guess I need to start by saying my kids were about 15 and 13, I think, when I started my previous business. So they were older and, we could have conversations and they understood things. We could reason. They could stay home alone. I mean, so let's start there. They were not toddlers. So just that information makes the expectations a little bit different. So during the busy seasons of my business, I tried to be intentional to sit down with my family and talk to them and give them actual calendar, like on a piece of paper
Mm,
that showed my
hmm
schedule so they would know what to expect. And we also knew the family schedule, like we knew when the kids had to be where. And I really strive to line up carpool and, get those things preset that would help because I wasn't going to be available to do some of those things. So, of course, my husband helped a lot, but sometimes we had to lean on our friends and our neighbors and other kids that were on football and volleyball teams.
Yeah.
We also planned food alternatives for them. Like that's when we would order Hello Chef. And I mean, that was kind of a cool treat for them. They would actually make the Hello Chef meals for themselves when I was
That's cool.
not available for dinner. We would give them eating out money. Remember, they could either drive or like order food to the house. But one thing we also did that sounds a little cheesy is we would make a paper chain of a countdown for when mom's event was over. And, visually we would all see, okay, the nights would just check off. And that was fun to like
Yeah.
plan towards that ending. And we also sometimes would plan a family night out to our favorite sushi restaurant to celebrate when the event was over. So, just things that maybe tried to help them look forward to the end and also kind of cheerlead me across the finish line. Try to make a few things
Yeah.
more positive because we were all tired and weary by the end. So I think some of those things for sure helped. And we look back on those little things fondly for sure.
It's kind of cool how it became a
Yeah.
positive, not necessarily a negative. So that's good. Okay. So the last thing we want to talk about today when it comes to trying to find that balance or at least the harmony is to create a support system. So we're going to kind of get a little personal here and talk about like how we've had to lean through the years, maybe on family, kind of like what you were just
Mhm.
talking about, family, friends, but also just in business, mentorships, professional networks can help with seeking balance. I mean, how amazing it is to you and I have each other, but not everybody
Mhm.
does. But to be able to bounce ideas off other people or externally process something, because that's big for me.
Yeah.
The help, like you said, about with childcare, things like that. But on the flip side, I do want y'all to remember sometimes I was told this years ago, and it has been true. Sometimes our closest family and friends don't always come in clutch. They're not the ones that always help. We actually did a whole episode on this, and it was 23 when your family and friends don't support your business, idea, or life goal, and how to overcome the naysayers. So go listen to that one too. It's got some really good tips as well.
Yeah. That was a fun episode, Melissa, and I encourage you all to listen to that if this is something that you're dealing with. So one other thing that I struggled with early on was delegating and outsourcing was really a struggle for me. You know, I think I told myself the lie that nobody else could do something as well as I could. And I also told myself that the time it would take to train someone, I could just get it done myself. And y'all,
Hmm.
those are lies, lies that I told
Yeah.
myself because I wanted ultimate control. But there are so many benefits of delegating tasks and outsourcing responsibilities. The number one thing, growth. You simply
Yeah.
cannot grow when you're doing all the work yourself. And number
So
two,
true.
just the relief of knowing you aren't alone in whatever it is you're trying to accomplish is a huge weight lifted off of your shoulders. And I don't
Yes.
even think I knew I was carrying that weight of doing all the things by myself
Yeah.
or for myself. And so that was a huge thing when I was like, "Oh, wait, you mean I don't have to do all of this?"
Yeah.
And then number 3, guess what? I discovered it is possible for others to do the job that you think only you can do. And
Hmm.
it won't be
Yeah.
exactly like you do it, but honestly, that's okay. You might get surprised and learn that someone else might think of something new and creative that you'd never thought of before.
Hmm.
So, one thing, of course, that gets in the way of also hiring people or asking for help is sometimes you think you can't afford the help. So, I would say just start with the number one thing that you think you'd like to stop doing and make it a priority to hire someone to do just that thing. So, you're not like going from zero to a full time employee, maybe somebody very, very part time or a virtual assistant. And you'll be surprised how that frees you up to earn enough to pay for the next thing you would like
Hmm.
help with. Melissa, I know you've
Yes.
done this too.
And yes, I have. I struggle with it. And I recently, in my current business, have somebody that's helping me more, day to day. And it has been incredible. It's left me a lot of white space because I am more of a creative
Mm.
thinker, dreamer. And so that has allowed me for her to do some things I did not enjoy or wasn't really good at. And it's been a huge difference maker. So I completely back that up. And let's get real. Nobody is ever going to discover the perfect balance. If you do, let us know because you could build an online course on it. We could help you create that, by the way. But it's more about creating harmony in your mix of family, business, and personal well being. And it's going to look different for every one of us, depending on what season of life you're in. Like even now, Julie, you're an empty nester. I'm not quite yet. And so life looks a little different for the two of us right now. It looks different for those of you with young kids.
Yeah. And it looks very different than where we were 15 years ago when we first started, not just our age, but, our
Yeah.
experiences that we had then. Can you remember like when we were trying to shove our work time in between the naps and the game schedules and the family time?
Yeah, I agree because my advice would be, and this is very vulnerable what I'm about to share, but like I was guilty of this. There were many times that I looked at my family as the burden because I was really trying to get this business off the ground and I was trying to do this thing and I had to stop and go to practice or I had to stop and do this and don't do that. Don't let them be what makes you feel burdened. Your work and your business can wait and it will. It's always going to be there. But these kids aren't. They grow up.
Mm, that's your core, Melissa. I know that's one of the things that you would love for people to know is if I could tell you one
Yes.
thing that I regret, and then that's it. So thanks for sharing.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Oh,
So we just challenge each of you to try to implement one or two of these strategies, not all of them, but one or two that we just discussed, and then share with us what you tried because we'd love to know how you're trying and striving to stay balanced or in check. We'd love to hear that.
also, if you like this show, would you please share it with a friend? You can share this episode. You can text the link directly to a friend or post it on your social media. We would love it if you would share because that helps us grow and helps us reach people just like you.
That's right. And remember, we are all trying to keep a healthy balance. It's hard, it's a moving target, but we can keep working on it. And remember that brave looks good on you.
Bye, y'all. You can just go into your you can just
Plodplast,
I
whatever you
can't ever
said.
say this word.
That is hard.
Player.
Podcast
Yeah,
player app. That's
I
hard to
know.
say.